At the beginning of July, we visited the fjords in Norway, a place we wanted to see for a long time. Our base was Bergen, so we will show you a city break with a few tips on what to see and where to eat. And of course, you can also expect incredible landscapes outside the city. Fjord cruises, mountain hikes, a Viking village, and lots of amazing waterfalls. Our goal was to see as much as possible in 1 week. But it's worth mentioning that according to statistics, Bergen is known as the rainiest city in Europe. So will the weather ruin our plans at some point? Let's find out. Hello, welcome to Bergen, the former capital of Norway. And this is actually our first time in Norway, so how do you feel about that?
I haven't seen that much. We only stroll around the city center of Bergen, but I have to say that Bergen is a getaway to the Norwegian fjords, which are really beautiful, so I'm really excited about that.
And 2 years ago we were on Iceland, and I hope that this trip will be similar, because this is also a Nordic country with an amazing nature. And I am a fan of Nordic mythology as well, so this trip is pretty personal for me. So yeah, first let's see what this city has to offer. Let's go! One of the things Bergen is known for is its street art. So we started with a walk along the street art trail, and at the same time explored the city to get to know it a bit better. It looks like an open-air gallery with interesting artists working in many different styles. For example, some artworks focus on pop culture or ecology and nature, while others are inspired by myths and fairy tale motifs like trolls. Together, they add a lot of character to the city. And speaking of art, we also took a quick walk through the local museum. We started with some landscape paintings, and I think I'd never seen a painting with a glacier as the main subject before. It was probably the most Nordic painting I've ever seen. I loved it. Then we moved on to Edvard Munch's exhibition. You probably recognize the Scream, which is in a museum in Oslo, and here you can see some of his other paintings.
This is the first time I'm seeing the Edvard Munch paintings. I have to say I like it. They quite
The originals.
They're quite disturbing, unsettling. There's a lot of loneliness, death in those paintings. I like the technique, so yeah, I am really enjoying the Code Museum.
After that dose of art, we made our way to one of the city's most iconic spots, which is Bryggen. It's a historic district of colorful wooden buildings that served as a major trading hub for centuries. And today it's a place where Norway's history meets the everyday life near the harbor. And you will also find some nice cafes here. We decided to take a break and we bought a cinnamon bun. And I heard that this is pretty famous in Bergen. So yeah, this is really good because I like everything with cinnamon, so this is really delicious. So I highly recommend it. A moment later, we entered the narrow streets of Bryggen, filled mostly with souvenir shops and handmade crafts. Finally, it was time for dinner, so we made our way to another popular spot in Bergen, the fish market, right next to the harbor in the city center.
Really nice, delicious. The fish is really tender. The breading, the butter breading and thing is delicious, and the fries, crispy on the outside, very soft on the inside. Perfect. Totally recommend.
This is really good. Yeah, highly recommended. I need to tell you about my new seafood diet. When I see food, I eat it. We were also looking for a nice pub nearby and came across some cozy houses, similar to ones we'd seen in other harbor cities. And speaking of pubs, we can definitely recommend this one. And that's it for our first day in Bergen. More of our city break coming up later. And when it comes to the weather, so far so good. The next day we planned a guided tour. We met up in the morning right by the bay, near the fish market. This was going to be our first real chance to see Norwegian nature and take our first fjord cruise. Part of the route led through tunnels carved straight into the mountains, which was actually quite spectacular. After leaving the city, we started with a stop at the Fossenbratte waterfall. It was a nice beginning, but it turned out to be just a small taste of what we were still going to see that day. Our next stop was at the Steindalsfossen waterfall. This is one of the most amazing waterfalls we saw during our time in Norway, because you can actually walk behind it without getting soaked. It's about 50 meters high, and standing there with all that water crashing down right in front of you feels pretty unreal. After that, we got back on the bus and headed towards the fjord. When we arrived, the bus actually drove onto a ferry, and that's when our first fjord cruise began. Once we got to the other side, we made our way to Folgefonna National Park. The plan was to do a short hike to a glacier lake. It was easy uphill trail with amazing mountain views all around, but in this case the heat made it a bit more challenging than we expected. The park was created in 2005 to protect not just the glacier itself, but also the surrounding valleys, waterfalls and rare plants in this area. After about 40 minutes we finally reached the lake. It's a stunning lake fed by the nearby glacier. Meltwater from the glacier is full of minerals and glacial dust, which gives the lake an intense turquoise color.
How do you like it so far?
It would be easier if it wouldn't be that hot, but I can feel the cold air near these enormous stones, so it's like a natural air conditioning, and the view is perfect, so yeah, I can recommend it definitely. It was worth it.
After a short break by the lake, it was time to get back. We had one last chance to take a look at this beautiful place. On our way back to the ferry, we didn't know that we were about to see one more amazing surprise that day. It was a massive waterfall hidden just around the bend, right by the road, actually flowing straight under it. It was a bonus attraction not mentioned in the tour description, so imagine just casually sitting on the bus or in a car and suddenly you see this huge white waterfall flowing right toward you. Since it's so close to the road, we only pulled over to take some quick photos, but still, that short stop was really impressive. As you can see, we took a different way back than the one we came, so on the ferry we could see a different part of the fjord as well. And on the bus back to Bergen, we still enjoyed a few more beautiful views at the end of the day.
Hello, it's the next day, and today we are going trekking on the peaks of Ulriken and Floyen. These are two of the 7 mountains that surround Bergen, and you can use a cable car here, but it's our third sunny day in a row in Bergen, so we are very lucky with the weather and we want to use this, so we are choosing to hike. Let's go.
The plan was to start the hike in one part of the city, follow the trail between 2 peaks and finish in another area, closer to the center of Bergen. The longest section between Ulriken and Floyen was supposed to take us about 5 hours, at least in theory. The trail up to Ulriken leads through the Sherpa steps, a long set of stone stairs hand-built by Sherpas from Nepal, who were brought in specifically to construct and restore these mountain paths. They used the same traditional techniques they use back home, and the result is a solid path that makes the climb much easier and protects the mountain from erosion. It also helps you focus on the views along the way. And after about an hour of hiking, we made it to the top. After a short break and few snacks, we made our way to Floyen. And this is where the fun begins. In the meantime, we noticed that the most of the trail signs looked like this, rusty and not really pointing anywhere specific, so that's when we started to think that we might be going the wrong way. We quickly confirmed it using a dedicated hiking app. I can definitely recommend it if you ever find yourself in a situation like this. It really helped us out. We had to backtrack a bit before finally finding the right trail again, which made our hike a little longer than planned. A moment later we found a bit of mental support from some new friends.
I guess the ships were the highlight of the day.
So far, yes. I was thinking about petting them, but I saw another girl trying to pet a sheep, and I think the sheep was pretty pissed about that.
Yes, so we didn't try to pet any sheep, we just kept walking. At some point we started to notice these kind of stone mounds which were missing from the first half of the trail. So from then on, following them made it much easier to stay on track. But as you can see, this was a long part with no trees and no shade, just full sun the whole way. We had around 5 liters of water and even that wasn't quite enough. And don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful trail, but in those conditions and at that stage of the hike, it honestly felt like it would never end. After about 7 hours since leaving Ulriken, we finally reached Floyen and enjoyed the view over the city center of Bergen.
Did you like the trail?
I did like it. The views were amazing, but I read online that this hike from Ulriken to Floyen was easy to moderate. I would argue. It was very demanding in some places, but overall it was a good hike. I'm tired right now. I think I will be sleeping like a baby. How was it?
Tyle.
We took this special funicular to get from the top of Floyen back down to the city. And basically, we decided that was enough adventure for today. We are just too tired. But the biggest highlights of our trip in Norway were still to come. The next day we had our longest guided tour, the one that was meant to be the main attraction of our stay in Norway. In the morning we left the center of Bergen by bus and headed towards our first stop, the Tvinnefossen waterfall. The waterfall is over 100 meters tall and it's made up of several smaller cascades. It once became famous for a local legend that its water could make you feel younger, and people even used to take bottles of it home. But we didn't try it.
I think it's the best waterfall I've seen in Norway so far.
Our next stop was a Viking village. We started with a short guided tour where we learned some interesting facts about Vikings.
Then the Vikings had runes, and before Viking Age they had 24 runes. But the Vikings, strangely enough, went down to 16. So one rune can mean up to 4 different letters. And if you carry one rune, each rune has their own power to give you something. You can, for example, fortune tells with the rune, you can communicate with the gods and do magic. And the runes come from the god Odin. Then they also have the rune stick, so they write message on and send it with someone. Almost like SMS, but a little bit slower. But if you really, really hate someone, then you need a stick, a staff from a hazel tree. And then you put in the ground, you put a horse head on the top, you write the name, you aim, and you curse. So then you bring bad luck. Yeah, so they also believed in that, yeah. And the place name here, Gudvangen, means the place of the gods. So it was most likely a sacrifice place. Then we also have the god Njord, so I have the same name as the fjord down there, Naeroyfjord, after the god Njord. And he was the god of the sea, also god of fortune and trade. So that's why I also think here was a marketplace. So naturally, to have the marketplace close to the fjord and the sea, because it's the main road in that time. It takes much longer time to move over the lands than through the sea. So that can explain why almost every city today along the coastline. Then we have much more famous god, the god Thor. So Thor's day is after him. And he have a hammer called Mjølner. So he make, for example, lightning and thunder with. And if you aim at something, you always hit his target and his hammer come back to him. And his hammer was so powerful that he can crush a whole mountain. So with his hammer, he's the strongest god. So for strength and luck in battle, you sacrifice to Thor. And over there, we have Loki, and he can turn into a snake or a chicken or me or one of you or anyone he likes. So if you want to do something sneaky, something conspiracy, some trickstery, you may ask Loki for help, but you never can trust him. He saves the gods many times, but he also tricks them, so not trustable.
In this reconstruction of a Viking village, you can see what their daily life looked like and check out some traditional crafts. You can also try some activities related to Viking life, like archery.
I shoot an arrow straight into the roof, so I guess I need more practice.
The village is located right next to the fjord. This is where the ferries depart from, and a fjord cruise was going to be our next attraction. Naeroyfjord is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and is often considered one of the most beautiful fjords in Norway. The scenery here is filled with stunning mountain views, waterfalls and charming villages along the shoreline. At one point, the ferry got really close to one of the largest waterfalls along the route. Seeing such a spectacular waterfall from this perspective was truly amazing. We still had a few great attractions ahead of us, but if you asked me about the best part of our trip to Norway, I would not hesitate. This was it. A cruise through this fjord is definitely a must-see when visiting the Norwegian fjords. After about 2 hours we arrived in the village of Flom, where we got off the ferry. The main highlight here was riding a historic train along the picturesque route to the village of Midal. As you can see, the train looks a bit retro. The Flamsbana line was opened in 1940. The old train has been restored and kept to match the history of the line and give the ride a more classic vibe. It's around 20 kilometers long, passes through about 20 tunnels and offers amazing views of Norway's landscape. During the ride, the train stopped right next to a waterfall. The viewpoint was so close that we could actually feel the mist on our faces. The stop was only about few minutes long. What's interesting, as soon as we stepped off the train, we heard music coming from the waterfall. And then we spotted a dancer who started performing on the rocks nearby. You can even see her red dress in the distance. The whole show lasted just a few minutes, and honestly, I never would have expected that there is a dancer waiting there for every train full of tourists just to put on this quick performance. But I have to admit, it's a really interesting idea, almost like some kind of mythical figure dancing right there in the middle of nature. When we got back on the train, we kept enjoying the views for the rest of the route. And that was basically the end of our last attraction of the day. In the village of Midal, we switched to a regular modern train that took us to the next town, where a bus was waiting to take us back to Bergen. And now it's the time for our city break part 2. We started the day with a free walking tour. We are not going to overwhelm you with tons of historical facts about Bergen, but for us it was really interesting. So if you'd like to learn more about the city and life in Norway in general, we can definitely recommend this. Then we went back to Bergen for a moment because we need to show you something. It's a shop run by an artist we had already known from Instagram, and since we knew she has a store here, we wanted to see her paintings in person as we really like her work. We ended up buying this amazing little artwork of Totoro in Bergen. So if you like this kind of style too, we can recommend checking out this shop and her Instagram. Then we went to a hot dog stand, which is pretty popular in this area. One of their specialties is a sausage made with the reindeer meat, so we decided to try it.
It's very tasty. I don't feel tasty. I don't feel anything like specific about this reindeer sausage. It tastes quite like regular sausage. It's very good quality, and the spices in it are very, very nice.
Yes, it might sound a bit surprising, but I can confirm, it actually tasted like a regular pork sausage in my opinion, and it was still pretty good, so if you are curious you can try it here too. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it started to rain a bit at that point, so we quickly headed to a pub we were already planning to visit that day. It's a pub that also happens to be a vinyl store. It's a wonderful cozy place. It has a big selection of beers and even bigger selection of records. And we were truly shocked. We found records from every artist we could think of. Pink Floyd, Queen, Björk, Fontaines DC, Radiohead and even underground bands. They really had it all. This pub stole our hearts and we highly recommend it if you're ever in Bergen. We left there after about 2 hours, as soon as it stopped raining, and we started walking around the city to find a nice place to eat some dinner. Along the way we spotted this. It's one of Bergen's old warehouses. These buildings were traditionally used for storage and trade, which is why they're built right on the edge of water. And we ended up at this place for dinner. The food was really good, so we can recommend this restaurant for sure. And it was also the last spot of the day. Of course, it wasn't a day without rain, but we were still able to spend most of the time walking around the city, so it turned out pretty good in the end. And so the time came for our last one-day trip. After leaving Bergen in the morning, our first stop was the town of Voss, where the main highlights were the mountain views and a cable car ride. Voss is often called Norway's adrenaline capital, known for extreme sports like skydiving, rafting and skiing, all surrounded by incredible mountains and waterfalls. There is even a dedicated landing area for skydivers. The Voss Gondola is actually one of the largest and most modern cable car in Northern Europe, and it takes you from the train station straight up to the mountains in about 9 minutes. From the top you get amazing panoramic views, and it's starting point for hiking or just relaxing with a view over the whole area. We also saw a vintage cable car cabin here that looked like something straight out of a Wes Anderson movie. When we got back down, we set off towards our next stop. It was Flamsbana waterfall. This waterfall is actually made up of 2 cascades, with a total drop of about 150 meters. You can see the scale compared to the people on the left. We walked a bit closer and I have to say, standing at the base of such a massive waterfall is a truly amazing experience of being so close to the nature.
Is this the best one so far?
Yes, I would say this is the best so far.
Again.
Then it was time for a short break in the town of Fjord. It's a small village located at the very end of the famous fjord, surrounded by mountains, waterfalls and glaciers. It's also a great base for exploring nearby natural attractions. And we also found a nice place for lunch here. And speaking of natural attractions nearby, we visited one of them. It was the Fjords waterfall. It's one of the most popular waterfalls in Norway, and it's actually located in a beautiful valley with more than one cascade. Thanks to a system of bridges and walkways, you can see it from above at a lot of different viewpoints.
I think that every waterfall in Norway is the best. You can't choose just one.
And that was also the last highlight of our trip to Norway. We were very lucky with the weather and we had an amazing time exploring the fjords and Bergen. And honestly, we still didn't see all the best spots here, so we are more than sure we will come back to the Norwegian fjords one day to discover the rest. And for this year we've already booked trips to Iceland and Greece. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next vlogs. Please don't forget to also leave a comment and like, and we will see you next time. Bye!